Tell me about your perceived biggest winner in this alignment, not only because of no divisions, but also because of the fact that we know the protected rivalries now. Who comes away feeling the best about themselves?
Well, I mean, when I look at the big winner, I guess I'm gonna go with the easiest path. I mean, for a certain team, I went through the schedules. And I figure who's got their. I mean, everybody's got their liabilities or vulnerabilities, and the a little. Oh yeah, that's a winnable game kind of deal. But I think when I looked at, I think it was Indiana's schedule. They as far as I think it's 24, they got Penn State at home, but they don't play Michigan. They don't play Ohio State. They got Michigan State, Nebraska, Northwestern, Wisconsin on the road. I mean, that if Indiana would get its crap together, and I think that 24 schedule pretty plausible for Indiana to make a decent run. But the problem is, they're kind of sputtering lately, and I don't even know if I don't have the infrastructure to get back to competitive level, JB.
Yeah, I mean they're not a historical contender for the Big Ten championship, and so that I don't take them as seriously in that spoiler role or in that slip into the Big Ten championship game role. I'll believe that when I see it. For me, it's got to be Penn State. It absolutely has
Oh,
to.
for all the reasons we talked about, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
all the reasons we talked about, because the Nittany Lions are, like I said, don't have to see Michigan and Ohio State in every single schedule that they put together, and you can almost count on one loss out of those two games for the Nittany Lions, and more often than not, it's two losses.
yeah,
Now the question becomes they're doing this in 2-year scheduling cycles. They've got 24 and 25 scheduled, and then they'll take a look at it, they say, and then put together the next 2-year bracket of schedules. And so they're making noise that they want to have competitiveness in mind when you do this. But the fact of the matter is, uh, it doesn't matter if you dip slightly if you're a Michigan or a Penn State or an Ohio State or USC or UCLA, you are going to have a tougher schedule on the perception that you are a historically strong program and you're going to, you're going to be able to hold your own. And but as far as Penn State not being locked into those games that have haunted them in the past few years, you're going to have some significant USC, UCLA, Wisconsin teams like that on the schedule, or else the Penn State could be a team that slides in to the Big Ten championship when otherwise maybe they wouldn't.
right, right. I got a question for you. I want to go back. And I want to throw a fact check because on the document that I saw, I thought I saw that there were 6 teams that the Big Ten played. Or 10 teams that the Big Ten played. Am I mistaken, or am I looking at a wrong graphic, or what?
I everything I've seen has said they're playing 9 conference games still. That they stayed with that
Because,
schedule.
well, yeah, like in Maryland, I had Maryland playing Indiana, Michigan, Nebraska, and Penn State. That's 4 at home, and on the road, Rutgers, Minnesota, Northwestern, Ohio State, Rutgers, and UCLA. That's 6. 6 and 4 is 10. I don't know. Something we might maybe Megan can check on it while we're doing this. The reason I say that is because if it does get to that, that's going to really have an impact on other, the group of 5 teams in college football want to make money off the big boys. If they only got 2 slots per team. But anyway, maybe Megan can check on that. If my bad, my bad. But I thought I was told that, and I hope someday, if it's not that way, I hope we do get to 10 conference games. And I'm going to tell you why, because we don't have divisions now, right? So I mean, you want to get as much cross section of all the teams, and then you play the conference. You're going to get a true Big Ten championship the more conference teams you play.
Yeah, I hear you. But just confirmed as we're continuing to talk about this, Big Ten teams in 2024 will continue to play 9 league games.
Okay, so maybe it's in 25 they're going to 10. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Regardless. Okay. I wanted to point that out just to make sure. Hey, we're in, we're in real time right now. We're conversing. We're asking each other's questions. So I wanted to get that clarified for myself.
Yep, no problem. Well, on the flip side of that, we've talked about maybe biggest winner in this thing. Who potentially could be the biggest loser in this kind of a setup in your mind?
Well, once again, I kind of got down to the nitty gritty on the schedule. I'm trying to figure out who has the toughest schedule, and I pinpointed that in 24, and then you got Maryland. Here's another team that is trying. I look at these teams that are trying to bridge their way up so they can be a potential candidate to get to Indianapolis. I mean, Indiana, isn't in that category. Maryland's another one that kind of is teeter with that. And I look at their 25 schedule, John. I mean, they got Indiana, at home, they got Indiana, Michigan, Nebraska, Penn State. So they got Michigan and Penn State at home. And then on the road, they got Rutgers, Minnesota, Northwestern, Ohio State, Rutgers. There's a duplication. That's why I had 2 Rutgers. So that's where that whole mistake came on the 6th team. So, but they got to go to UCLA on the road. I'm thinking when you go on the road to the West Coast, that's going to have impact on some of these teams, a travel impact that, everybody says, oh, it's going to affect USC, UCLA, but it's also going to affect the Big Ten teams that travel there, right? And so they got to, that's a long trip, and then they're already into their game week, getting carved into that a little bit. So I'm looking at Maryland maybe a little challenged in 25.
Okay. All right. And I'm gonna throw a little big picture general thought about this whole thing. And that is because, getting back to what I said, the teams that are historically strong, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, and your USC's and UCLA's, the Big Ten wants them to have a tough schedule, tougher than, say, a Rutgers or a Purdue. And because of that, if one of these programs experiences a several year dip, like Michigan did from 2008 through 2014, all of a sudden, the Big Ten's not going to say, "Oh, well, they're no good anymore. We're going to give them an easy schedule," because what's the perception? Well, Michigan is not going away. Ohio State's not going away. USC's not going away. They will continue to have tough schedules. And so, in my mind, you're in a situation where, if you take a little dip for a while, and Michigan has put itself in a position where it shouldn't be worrying about that. But if you do, and every program does from time to time, then all of a sudden you may really be in a disadvantageous position vis-a-vis the some of the middling teams of the Big Ten who are playing an easy schedule. Meanwhile, you're struggling yourself, but you are all of a sudden still playing the big boys every year.
Yeah, and timing is everything in life, right? It's like I'm looking at I voiced my concern about the 22 and 23 schedules in the non-conference. I'm not going to go into that anymore. But in contrast, one of those watch what you wish for, right? Here comes Michigan with UCLA and USC coming on board. You got Ohio State, you got Michigan State, and you got Fresno State as one of your group of 5. Fresno State is one of those teams, man, you cannot take lightly. They bring it. They got a mentality in that program, chip on the shoulder relative to the Pac-12 teams. That's a tough non-conference. And then you got the Texas Longhorns, albeit coming to Ann Arbor. You got that, and then you got potentially. I hope that's not the case. JJ McCarthy going out after his third year, and you got an offensive line. Let's be real. You go down through the personnel. There's a lot of guys that are leaving after the 23 campaign. You think, good Lord, why isn't that schedule of 24 and 23 when you want it to be in 23 as opposed to 24? But so, you can't, timing's everything. There's a lot of luck. You just go be the best you can be and don't worry so much about the schedules, right?
Well, that's true, but I'll tell you what, I've seen years where schedule determines championship. And I think this could be more than ever now that we've opened things up. I mean, you could pretty much count on if you got through the Big Ten East, or you could count on it because ever since they went East and West, the Big Ten East winner has won the Big Ten championship. That's a lock. So win your division and you're going to win the championship. But look, you're talking about 2024 schedule and you talk non-conference, but they get into conference. They've got UCLA at home. They've got Wisconsin at home. They've got Michigan State, an emotional game at home. They have to go to Ohio State. They have to go to USC. That is a crazy tough schedule.
Yeah.
And it's a darn good thing. Darn good thing. Well, that's good. And I think everybody, in terms of, man, let's take on anybody and play the best of the best of the best. But if you wound up in 2024 as the 13th team in a 12-team playoff roster, then people wouldn't like it quite so much.
Well, key point, you use the number 12 or 13, okay? This is not 4, okay? So that's the beauty of what next year brings. Because you're going to get in those 12 teams. You won't tell me that strength of schedule issue is going to be popping up all over the place. And you're not going to get, and this is where this narrative is just, blitzed upon, especially from SEC. Typical announcers will drill Michigan for these schedules in 22 and 23, and we're going to hear it again this year. But you have to deal with that next year. And when you got a great home slate. You got the Buckeyes on the road, but look what you just mentioned at home. Think about how awesome that's going to be for the high-paying Michigan football fans that pay big money. They're not going to have to watch East Carolina, UNLV, and BG in the big house on an 85-degree day. Okay, that's the sweet spot, and that's what college football is all about, in my estimation. Is being in a competitive situation where you find out, man, oh, who's the better team. That's the way I feel about it.
I agree. But there's the other, to play devil's advocate, I still contend that a loss will hurt you more than a lopsided win over a weak opponent. And would you rather see Michigan, going toe-to-toe against a Wisconsin or a UCLA in the big house in late September and really being caught up in the, hey, this is what it's all about? Yeah. Or would you rather see them be in a position where they're in the Big Ten championship game, they're in the playoffs, where otherwise they might not be? And then
they go on to the playoff and they get exposed because they haven't been exposed to enough non-conference tough competition early on to find out what their weaknesses are. I mean, this is a way you can look at this. You got, you want to play the fool's gold card, go ahead. But look what's happened. You know what I mean? So that's the way I feel about it, JP.
I understand, but to push back on that last one just a little bit, you're not going to get by easily when you got USC, you've got Ohio State on the road, you've got Wisconsin, Michigan is playing an absolute murderer's row in 2024. And you could remove a couple of those games and you would still have an extremely tough schedule. And
it's once again, my point a few minutes ago, and it's a team that's going to be in a rebuild mode. This is where Michigan has to challenge itself of getting to the Georgia, Alabama level. Is that you do, in fact, the old cliche, you don't rebuild, you reload, where you have such high caliber talent, and they're doing this 24 class is outstanding. The 25 class, I know it's early on, that's going to be solid as we're sitting. If you get top 5 to 10 every year, Then you're in a Georgia-esque situation where, yeah, you're going to lose a lot of guys, but plug and play, and then you can tackle those daunting schedules. But regardless if they plug all those places with high caliber athletes, I'm not denying it, JB. That schedule, as much as I'm going to enjoy sitting down there in Ann Arbor watching that competition, that's a tough slate. I'm not denying that.